gotta put it out. Do I remind you that you never found exactly what you need? Cycles repeating. You'll get mad, I get sad, and then you'll leave, and I'm grieving. What I wish we had, what I really need. I know deep down you're good. You just so misunderstood. It's deceiving. Round and around we go. Cycles repeating.
This is the story of Taylor Swift. But not really. I just want to use Taylor Swift as an object lesson to help us focus on the difference between the kingdom of God and the kingdom of Satan, and specifically what is considered the good life in both of these kingdoms, right? I think Taylor Swift is an easy object lesson concerning what we think would be the good life, right? Let me tell you something, guys. If you do a simple case study with the lens of happiness, and you see are rich, wealthy, influential, powerful, popular people more happy than middle class or poor, you'll find that's not true. There's just as much depression, anxiety, divorce, suicide across all demographics. In fact, one of the highest suicide rates, guys, is among CEOs, the wealthy, the top 5-10%, right, in terms of wealth. That's crazy, but it also points to the fact that there are different versions of goodness, success, joy, happiness in the world, and often what we think is good really isn't, because there are two kingdoms with two competing versions of success and goodness. All right? And I think Taylor Swift is just a good way to look at these things, because she really has risen to the top of the top of the top, not just in her industry, but in terms of notoriety in our culture. She's a pop culture icon, and she has been for a long, long time, and she's had a very successful career. And by the way, I like her music. I think she's an amazing songwriter. I think she's a very accomplished person. She's a very successful person. She's very driven. She's worked really hard. And yet, is she the epitome of happiness and joy because of these things? It was interesting. She did this album in 2020, about 5 years ago during COVID, right? So I was watching this documentary by Disney on the album. The album was Folklore, the Long Pond Studio Sessions. And so Taylor Swift had this idea. She wanted to do an album on her own, of her own music, not through her record label, not with the fanfare that she normally does things with. She got together a couple artists. She went into the studio. She spent a couple weeks. She recorded these songs. The thing that I thought was interesting as I'm watching this unfold in the documentary is she had to ask permission from her record label before she could do this album on her own. Now you think, guys, Taylor Swift is at the point in her career where she can do whatever the hell she wants. She can tell the industry, F you can't tell me what to do, right? But here you have someone who has so much clout, and you would think she owns the industry. She can tell her record label what to do and to go F off if they don't like it. But no, it's flipped. Why? Because Satan's system is a system of control. And like there's the meta system, the beast, and then there's all the little systems that effervesce out of it, that manifest into the world. The record, music industry, religion, education, government, the monetary system, commerce, guys. Satan has his own version of all these things, and so does God. A true telltale sign of Satan's system is enslavement and control. And it's funny that you have someone like Taylor Swift who still has to ask permission to do the things that she simply wants to do because she is so deep into a system. And what, guys? She cannot put on a concert at a big arena without that system. She can't release her records through all the standard release mechanisms without this system, right? Pink Floyd has a song about this, by the way, called Welcome to the Machine. And it is about the record industry. And I've heard other people talk about the record industry, including Oliver Anthony and John Bellion, which, let me look that up. He did an interview with, on the George Jenko show, I believe. Yeah, about a year ago. He talks about his, his career and the moment that he blew up and got really popular and thought he had arrived, and then how he realized once he got into the system, the music industry, how it really owned him. And he had this moment of recognition where he got popular, he rose to success, his dreams came true. But then he started doing these big concerts and he realized that they were making money, they were getting their cut, but he didn't always get his cut, and he ended up owing money for these venues and for the unionized, roadies that had to set up and all the shows and the record labels. And it turned out that everybody else was getting their money, but he wasn't always getting his money, and he ended up in debt to the tune of millions of dollars. And it all kind of came down, crashing down, and he was all of a sudden like struck by the weight of what he thought was success that ended up being slavery. He talks about that on that show. He talks about getting out of it, of course, but he talks about, like, he achieved his dreams, but his dreams actually turned into a nightmare because the industry and the institution and the system, it's designed to take the success of individuals and suck all the energy out of that, fuel it back into the machine so that the machine can survive and continue whether or not the individuals do. That's the way Satan's system works. I can guarantee you guys, if tomorrow Taylor Swift bombs her next album and falls out of favor and nobody cares about her anymore, she will eventually fade away, disappear, become a footnote or a memory of pop culture, but the machine will continue to raise up new people, suck new people dry. The machine will continue, guys, because that's how it works. That's Satan's system. Satan's system doesn't give a crap about you, how successful or unsuccessful you are. It's about how you can be used to further the system, to fuel the system. And when you are gone, other people take your place. It's the Matrix, guys. It's machines using human life to sustain the machine, whether or not human life survives. It's crazy. This is Satan's system. And I think that you can see this at play. You think about Taylor Swift, and I sat down with my 10-year-old daughter a while ago and watched the Eras Tour on Disney, and Disney's releasing behind the scenes, right, of the Eras Tour. But you think about all the people involved in making that show a success, right, the tour. I mean, thousands of people were working with Taylor, basically riding her coattails and helping her, of course, put on these concerts. But a lot of people got their cut. A lot of people made money off of her popularity. A lot of people garnered a lot of benefit from her success. And this is what the machine does. So, my point, guys, is you have to be careful which system you're partnering with, because you may work your whole life and succeed to a degree, but if you are doing it within the confines and if you're doing it within the confines of this diabolical system, it won't be successful for you. It won't actually produce good things for you. Why? In Galatians chapter 5, Paul writes that the fruits of the Holy Spirit are love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Guys, goodness. What is good life? What is goodness? What is love? What is joy? Where does it come from? Paul says that these things come from being in relationship with God. And guess what? Relationship with God is free. You don't work for it. You don't earn it. You have to surrender to it. You have to allow God's goodness to come in by letting go of the pursuit of your own goodness. Right? I think Taylor Swift, from all accounts, looking outside from a distance, I think she seems pretty joyful. She's a musician who is a prolific songwriter, a good songwriter, seems to be enjoying doing what she is doing. And I think she really loves the craft and loves what she's doing, loves performing for people and the experience of it all, and loves bringing joy to people. And I think that's why she seems pretty happy and she seems pretty grounded, even though she is in this machine, even though this machine has its claws in her. We live in a world of darkness, but you don't have to be consumed by that darkness. So it's interesting because I think Taylor Swift is kind of an example of both sides. As an icon, she is being used by a diabolical system, sucked dry, used for her popularity, because of her popularity. At the same time, she as a person seems like she's grounded enough to know what really brings her joy is the gift she's been given, the gift of music. And she uses that gift to gift others with the joy of music, right? This is why God gives us things. He gives us gifts, skills, abilities, talents, so that we can enjoy them for ourselves and then bring joy through them to others. I watched her one time, and I think she does this almost every show. She gives something from that show to somebody. She usually picks someone, and one time it was a girl, and she gave her cowboy hat to that girl, and just like the girl's face lit up, and you could see Taylor Swift just loved that moment because she loves giving. You know, she's not doing this to draw attention to herself only and to just try to get everything for herself. I think she has an understanding that there is true joy in simply being able to do the things she loves and to share the things she loves. And that is true goodness, and that is God's idea of goodness, guys. The money and popularity comes and goes. Success comes and goes. Fame comes and goes. People will love you today and hate you tomorrow. People will praise you today and curse you tomorrow. If you are using what you have to bring joy to yourself and others, then you're participating with God's kingdom, regardless of what Satan's kingdom is doing around you, you know? I think that's really cool. I think that's a lesson for us, guys, and that is the story of Taylor Swift in light of this larger story, the story of everything, which is the story of two kingdoms, two systems, two sets of values, two ideas about the goodness of life, two different ideas about what makes life good, joyful, and worth living. So, be careful which system you're in. A lot of times we're in between. That's just the case for everybody. We're in between these two systems, but are we moving more towards God's or Satan's? Well, the fruit that is born is the proof of which system you are moving towards. Are you finding more joy simply in the act of enjoying the things God has given and giving them to others to bring others joy? Or are you getting more and more bitter and controlling with the things that you have and protective and fearful? That is the true metric of which kingdom you're in and which kingdom you're moving towards. All right.
If I could, I would take all your